So it was a hot day at the Florida Ridge last weekend. Hey, I thought I'd try narrating this video instead of some music. So here we are getting set up, and once we all get set up, we're hanging out under Alex's wing because it is just hot out there. We're hoping for something to turn on, but nothing really seems to be happening, so we hang out. But at a certain point, I volunteer to be the wind dummy because I just got to get up and fly. Hey, notice as I'm taking off here, I'm taking off to the west-northwest. I'm headed toward the hangar. You'll see just off my left right there. And that'll become important in a little bit. So everything's pretty smooth, a very uneventful tow up, which is fine. That's the best kind of tow to have, is one without events on it. I notice a little bit of texture in the air, but really everything's very, very light. So I'm just going to watch until I get a chance to pin off, and eventually I do, probably around 2,000 feet. I do get into some very light lift. I try to do some fairly wide turns on it because I just can't find a solid core. And I get to hang out there for a while, but eventually I end up in the 700 to 1,000 foot level. Again, I'm getting some just kind of popcorn thermals, so I'm trying to scratch up there. Notice under my left there that all the wings are still under the tree, because that's the direction we're all still taking off from at that stage. While I'm trying to scratch up, I catch the tug towing up the tandem, so there's some Discovery flyers up for the day. It was a good day for them. Eventually, though, I'm just going to admit defeat and not going to be able to scratch back up, so I'm going to turn right here and I'm going to go on my downwind leg. But as I'm doing that, I realize it doesn't really feel like I'm going downwind anymore. And I also notice that everybody seems to be leaving the tree where we were all launching. They're taking the golf carts back, and then it kind of clicks in all at once. Hey, you know what? The wind has completely shifted, and they notice it on the ground, so they're not going to take off from there anymore. So I've got to make a choice. I'm headed in completely the wrong direction, so I got to do a 180. I'm going to try to skirt down the edge, the south side of the field, and see if I can make it to the hangar. And I'm not really sure that's going to work because I don't know which direction the wind is going for sure. And of course I'm in a Falcon on top of that, so my penetration is not going to be great if the wind is blowing the wrong way. But I'm just going to take it as far as I can. I can always abort to the right if I need to and land out in that nice big field. But as it turns out, I go pretty far where I needed to. I'm going to hang a right at that palm tree and land in what I think is into the wind. But then the wind kind of gives me a little check right there and turns me a little bit, but I was still able to make the landing and get back to where everybody else was. Wasn't my prettiest landing, to be sure, but I didn't crash the wing either, so that's good. I grab some quick lunch, get right back on the line, and I take off, and now I'm taking off in completely the opposite direction. I'm now headed toward the tree. I'm going to fly right over the tree where we all were before, which is kind of funny. That doesn't usually happen where we fly. Again, the trip is pretty uneventful, and the wind is a little stronger up top, and there's a little more textured as well. And I'm up now by some of the other guys, and during the rest of these shots you'll notice people, for instance, right to my 9 o'clock, right to my 2 o'clock. There's guys above me and below me, everybody trying to find the same lift that I'm trying to find. There's somebody else at my 9 o'clock again below me. And we're all watching each other because that's what we do. We're trying to find some birds, but the birds really aren't out today. At one point we saw some where we were at, but for the most part, no. So everybody's looking to see who else is going up. There's a guy to my 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock again, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock again. And really some of these are just some shots of people going by me. And you can see I'm hanging out pretty much at the 2400. There's a guy to my 6 o'clock. 7 o'clock right there, and also my 1 o'clock in the distance. And there's a wing right at my 11 o'clock. There's also one at my 6 o'clock. I may have just gone over him. The guy at my 12 o'clock right now, he seems to be headed back towards me, so that means I must be in better lift. Look at my 9 o'clock. There's a guy at about 1,000 feet as well. So he's headed back toward my lift, which isn't much. There's a guy at my 7 o'clock there. And for the most part, we're just all chasing the same kinds of lift. All in pretty much the same area. Like I said, the wind directions seem to be variable. Here I am back pretty much over the LZ again, for all intents and purposes. Another guy at my 7 o'clock. And yet at some points, there's a guy up above me, just flew across my wing. Here's a guy to my 9 o'clock solo pilot, but also to my 3 o'clock is a tug and another wing coming up. Now this guy right at my 10 and 11 o'clock, he's in stronger lift than I am. So I'm going to head towards him, watch his rotation. I'm going to try to get into that same thermal in the same direction that he is, and eventually that's exactly what I did. You'll see I am catching up to him. I'm catching part of that lift right there, and then I'll follow him for a round. Unfortunately, the winds took me too far from the LZ, so I decided I had to make a landing and come on back. This landing is fine. It's only a 2 or 3 step landing. I'm happy with that, but watch my feet, and you'll see my cell phone come out right at the very end. Now, if you got to lose your cell phone, I suppose that's the way to lose it, but stepping on it's not the greatest way to find it. Like I said, it's better than losing your cell phone at 3,000 feet, to be sure, and I'll never turn down a 2 or 3 step landing either, so that part was fine. All in all, it was a great day, and had a good flight. Tired, but like they say, it's if you're blessed enough to be flying with your friends, then you're certainly blessed enough, and I was very blessed to have that flight. Great flying with you guys. See you next weekend.